I've been working as a janitor for almost 8 years. It wasn't the plan for my life, but it ended up being the most stable path I found after everything fell apart in my old profession. Today, I say I've gotten used to it, but whenever someone asks what it's like to work in a hospital at night, I always give the same answer. It's lonely. And depending on the day, that can be either a good thing or a very bad one. I start at 10 at night. The hospital is already quieter by then, and that silence has a strange way of getting under your skin. It's not just the lack of noise. It's a kind of silence that feels heavy, like there's something in it, like there's someone in it. But what I want to tell you doesn't start in the hospital. It starts at home. I live alone in a small second-floor apartment in an old building. It's simple, a bit worn out, but it's the only place where I feel like I can breathe without anyone watching me. When I get home from my shift, usually around 6 in the morning, the hallway is always empty, and the ceiling light flickers in that annoying way I've already asked to fix 3 times. The landlord keeps saying she'll look into it, but she never does. Early this year, I started noticing something strange. Every time I came home from work, the key in my apartment door was slightly turned in the lock. Not unlocked, just twisted, as if someone had put a key in, tried to turn it, and then stopped halfway through. The first time I assumed I had done it myself. Maybe I was too tired and just forgot. But when it happened 3 nights in a row, I started getting suspicious. Still, I didn't take it too seriously. My mind was always exhausted. Maybe I was just forgetting little things. Maybe it was just mental fatigue. Night shifts mess with your sense of time. So I went to work that night trying to ignore it. At the hospital, my routine is always the same. Main corridor, orthopedic wing, service elevator, then the ICU floor. What wears me out the most isn't the physical work, it's the atmosphere. At night, the sounds change, the mood of the hospital changes, the cold lighting makes everything feel bigger than it is, and at the same time, emptier. That week, the nurses were talking about an elderly patient who kept calling out for someone who wasn't there. They said she'd wake up scared, asking them to turn off the hallway light because he stood in her doorway waiting for her to fall asleep. I didn't think much of it. Elderly patients sometimes mix dreams with reality. It happens all the time. But that night when I was cleaning the 5th floor hallway, I heard her calling someone. Not a scream, more like a tired whisper, and the strangest part was that she was calling a name I didn't remember hearing before. Mateus. Mateus, close the door, he's watching. My name is Mateus. And I swear, in that moment it felt like someone placed an ice-cold hand on my back. When I heard her call my name, my body just froze. It was a quick, reflexive reaction, something inside me registering that something was off. I turned slowly, half expecting to see someone behind me, but the hallway was completely empty. Just the soft glow of the overhead lights and the reflection of my cleaning cart on the polished floor. I took a deep breath, trying not to let it get to me. Patients confuse names all the time. Nurses have called me Marcos, Matthias, Marcelo since the day I started. Nothing unusual. I tried to believe that. I pushed the cart toward her room mostly to calm myself down. When I reached her door, it was half open. She was awake, staring at the ceiling with a distant, almost listening expression, like she was hearing something I couldn't hear. When she saw me, she turned her head slowly and whispered, "You're back. I thought you weren't coming anymore." My heart sped up. I'm not sure why. Maybe because of the way she said it, like she really was talking to me, not just saying the name Mateus. I forced a small smile. "Mrs. Olivia, I'm just checking to see if you're all right. Do you need anything?" She blinked slowly as if trying to process reality. "He stands in the doorway when you leave. He won't let me sleep. He thinks I don't see him, but I do." My stomach tightened. There was no one in the doorway. And even if there were, why would she tell me that? I thought about calling a nurse, but she seemed calm, not agitated. And I knew if I made a scene, they would dismiss it as confusion, which it probably was. At least that's what I kept telling myself. I finished the hallway quickly that night, and when I went to the supply room to store the cart, I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The heavy metal door, which is always half open, was wide open. The light inside was off. Something about that darkness felt wrong, like I shouldn't go in. So I left the cart outside and walked away. When I got home that morning, I found something that shook me even more. The key in my door was twisted again just like before. But this time there was a dirty handprint near the lock, like someone had dragged their fingers across the wood. I stood there staring at it for about 10 seconds, trying to rationalize it. Maybe I brushed it accidentally. Maybe it was nothing. But the truth is, the feeling I had in the hospital came rushing back. That pressure in the air. That weight in my chest. Like someone had been there. Like someone had started following me. The next morning, I decided not to mention the door to anyone. First, because I didn't want to sound paranoid. Second, because I was already starting to feel ridiculous about all of it. I went to work pretending everything was normal, but that strange feeling followed me the entire day. When I arrived at the hospital, the parking lot was quiet, with that cold, early morning wind. As I walked toward the service entrance, I noticed one of the technicians sitting on the curb smoking, looking drained. "Tough night?" I asked. He exhaled slowly. "Man, I heard footsteps in the observation wing, but it wasn't like someone walking. It was more like fabric being dragged on the floor, slow, steady. Didn't sleep at all during my break." He said it so casually, not trying to scare me, that it made the hair on my arm stand up. It wasn't a dramatic story, it was just a fact. "And was anyone there?" I asked. "No. But you know that feeling when someone enters a room, that shift in the air?" He stared at his cigarette. "Yeah, it was like that." I nodded, even though I didn't know what to say. Every night felt like something new tugging at my attention, as if the hospital were a living thing trying to speak to me in pieces. The shift started normally. Trash in the wards, new bags, cleaning part of the ER, the usual. But when I got near hallway 5, which had never bothered me before, I felt that pressure again. Not fear, exactly. More like humidity in the air. Heaviness. Tension. I looked down the hallway, and for a split second, I swear I thought someone was standing there. But maybe my brain filled in a shadow wrong. I didn't want to think about it, so I kept working. The real problem came when I went to the back storage room. That room always bothered me, cold even in summer. Weird dark corners, boxes nobody touches. I've always felt like it was poorly designed, too many tight spaces. When I turned on the light, I instantly froze. My cleaning cart, the one I had left neatly in the corner the night before, was knocked over, everything scattered. I stood there processing it. No one had a reason to touch it. Nobody enters that room during my shift, and yet the cart was overturned. Before my brain reacted, my body did. That primal jolt in the stomach, the instinct you get before your mind catches up. Then I noticed something else. The cleaning cloth I always leave folded on the top shelf was on the floor, not dropped, placed there. Spread open, neatly. I closed the door quietly, and for the first time I wasn't scared of the hospital. I was scared of going back home. I got home with the sun rising. The sky was that soft, early morning blue that usually brings relief. Not to me. I felt worse. Like whatever was happening at the hospital hadn't stayed there, like it had clung to me. I stepped inside, shut the door, and stood still for several seconds, listening. My apartment is never completely silent. There's always the distant traffic, dogs barking, the hum of streetlights. But that morning, nothing. A silence so deep it felt physical. I headed to the kitchen for water and stopped in the hallway. The guest room door was open. I never leave that door open. No one uses that room. It's full of storage boxes, tools, old stuff. And with my habit of checking everything before leaving, I know I closed that door when I went to work. I stood there staring. Nothing seemed out of place, window locked, boxes untouched. But something felt wrong. Even the smell. I ignored it, or tried to, ate something, showered, slept. But when I woke up around 2 p.m., I heard a noise in the living room. Nothing scary, just a soft rustle, like someone handling a plastic wrapper. I walked out slowly, heart racing for no logical reason. And sitting on my couch was something that didn't belong there. The cleaning cloth from the hospital. The same one I saw on the floor in the storage room. I froze. The cloth was folded perfectly the way I folded at work. But that made no sense. I never take supplies home, ever. I'm strict about that. I picked it up with 2 fingers. It smelled like disinfectant, slightly damp, newly used. I sat on the couch staring at the wall, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense. trying to tell myself it was a prank, a mistake, something logical. But deep down I knew. Maybe I didn't bring the cloth home. Maybe something else brought it to me. Something from the hospital that didn't want to stay there. Something that found a new place to follow me. Since that day I still work there, not out of bravery, out of necessity. But a part of me never went back to normal. Because now, every time I open my front door, I don't just check if it's locked. I check if something got inside while I was gone.